Hello, my name is Dr. Webb. I'm one of the business communication professors here at the University of West Georgia, and I'm here to tell you about your job search project. In this project, you're going to imagine that this would be the position that you'd want after graduation from your degree program. So this isn't about what job you could get now, but it would be the job that you would get after graduation. And as you know from reading chapter 16, the purpose of the resume is so that you can obtain an interview. So this project is going to consist of 4 parts. You're going to have a job search posting and reflective statement. You're going to have a salary search for job posting. You're going to have your resume, and you're also going to create a LinkedIn profile. There's some extra credit opportunities. If you wanted to create a cover letter, that could be 10 extra points. A thank you letter, 10 extra points, as well as a page of references. That would be 5 points. So I'm going to briefly go through this with you, and if you have any questions, you can ask your professor. But basically, the first section is part 1, which is you're going to look for a job either on Monster.com, CareerBuilder, Indeed.com. You can go directly to a company website that you might be interested in working with. And once you find that position, you're going to need to save it. You can use the snipping tool or a screenshot to save that posting. You might be able to save it as a PDF depending upon what site you go to. And you're going to need to submit that to your professor in the Dropbox. In addition to your job posting that you find for a job that you'd be interested in after graduation, you're going to be creating a reflective statement. This reflective statement is going to indicate why you believe that the job that you found would be a good job for you, that it's going to help you meet your career goals. You're going to develop this statement in 10 to 12 well-written and developed sentences. And within those 10 to 12 sentences, you want to make sure that you include some specific details or job requirements that you found in the posting that you actually possess. So this would be the statement of how this posting that you found fits in with your career goals. The one thing that's nice about this job search posting and reflective statement is that this is going to be one of your CourseDen requirements in week 7. So you'll actually be doing this as part of your activities for week 7. The other thing that you're going to be doing as part of your requirements for week 7, and that counts for your resume project or this job search project, is the salary search. So once you find the position that you're interested in, and you know what job it is, you're going to go to salary.com. You're going to, within salary.com, type in the position that you are interested in, and from there they'll give you a free range of salary. They'll give you what someone in that position makes at the low end, the middle end, or the high end. And you are going to be taking that report, analyzing it, taking a look at it. You'll need to use a snipping tool or a print screen so that you can email your professor this salary search. But for finding the salary search, it's worth 50 points. So take a look at that. The next thing is going to be your professional resume, and this is the bulk of the project. It's 200 points, and everything that you put on your resume is actually going to go into your LinkedIn profile. So you need to do your professional resume first, and then you'll be cutting and pasting or copying and pasting into the LinkedIn profile. So with this, what you're going to do is you're going to need to find the templates on CourseDen to complete this resume. Now at this point you may already have a working resume that you're happy with, but for the sake of this course, we want you to use one of the templates. And if for some reason you don't like these templates, as you move forward, then you can always go back to your original. Here's one of the templates that you could use. And you can always adjust the different resume categories. So this one here is a functional resume, which you read about in your textbook, chapter 16. They have stated their objective. They also have different specific skills that they have obtained, but not specifically related to a job position, and that's what makes this functional. There are also some honors and activities that they have done. Notice that there's the indication of the month and the year. So you want to make sure that you indicate when you've received an activity or an award so that the employer can see if this is something you've done recently or something that you've done in the past. If you don't put a date at all, they probably won't even look at it as being relevant because it could have happened 10 years ago. So make sure that you make it relevant by putting when you received any kind of an activity or an honor or an award. The next section is the education section, and that goes towards the end in a functional resume, because on a functional resume you want to highlight your most important skills. And in this case, this person has communication and computer skills and organizational and management skills, and that's what they're highlighting. The education, again, is on there, but it's towards the end. And then last but not least, on a functional resume, this is where you would indicate your employment history. You don't have to include any specific details like you would in a chronological resume, but you do need to include the company name, where it is located, and how long you work there if you're currently working there. So that's one example. Here's another example of a chronological resume. It's a little fancier with a border, but it has the different categories like objective, education, skills, employment history, honors and awards, community service. You can change any of these words around in the template. You can change employment history to experience. You can change honor and awards if you don't have any to maybe volunteer work, or maybe computer skills if you have more computer skills. Community service in this case could be changed to something else as well. If you find that you don't have a lot of information to put on a resume, you may want to use this type of template. Notice on this type of template, you have the headings that are borders. This helps you space out your resume more. So if you don't have a lot of job history or you don't have a lot of skills or experience or any kind of awards, then you'll want to go with something similar to this. Here you can additionally include an objective if you wanted to, or a profile, so you can describe who you are as the main part. But in this case, this person started with just education. And notice that this education has these different areas that need to be included. The experience, you need to have at least 3 bullet points that you would use an action verb and give examples of the tasks and skills you possess. These action verbs are located in chapter 16 where they talk about them, and then we're providing you with a bunch of action verbs that you can find on Course 10 that you need to look over when you create your resume. And awards and activities. Now another section that this resume has, because there's not a lot of information, is a reference section. And when you have space at the bottom, because you want to make sure that your resume spans the entire space and not just half a page, or if you're doing a 2-page resume, it should not be 1.5 pages, but it should span 2 full pages. So in this case, you can manipulate the spacing, and you can also include headings such as, or a section such as references available upon request. So you wouldn't actually put the references there, but you would just let the the employer, know that they are available upon request. Another area is, or another template is this example. This is made using a table, the table function, and it has the different areas. You can change those areas around, but it's, again, one of the formats that includes everything that you need. And then last but not least, another example of the template with the borders. So those are the templates that you're going to need to use. And as you go through, you'll be able to see some of the different things. The one thing that you'll notice on these templates, and I'll just pull up this one for example, notice that the name of the person is the largest thing that you see, and that everything is included. The one thing you want to make sure is that you don't skimp out on your resume by having any kind of abbreviations other than possibly the state. That's a 2-letter abbreviation in capital letters. So Georgia would be capital G, capital A, but you can just as well spell it out. This resume shows who you are. It shows that you're detail oriented. So if you're not including those types of details, it will come to work against you. So you want to make sure that you have that. Okay, so all the information here is what's expected. So make sure you read these directions and correlate it to that template. And again, if you already have a resume, please use or cut and paste from your resume and put and merge the formatting into these templates to make sure that you have everything and that it follows all the requirements. So once you have created your resume and it's perfect and you looked it over, you will then be submitting that to your professor in the Dropbox by the due date. So you'll be including that. The next area that you're going to need to include, oh, and the one thing, if you are in a hybrid class, you'll be ending up handing that resume into your professor. But online, you'll be submitting it in the Dropbox. Now the final thing is a LinkedIn profile. And this is something that if you don't already have a LinkedIn account, you want to make sure that you do. And we are ensuring that you do have a LinkedIn account by making this part of the project. And it's worth 200 points, so it's a pretty big deal. You want to make sure that everything on your resume, again, is proofread, doesn't have any errors, because you're going to be copying and pasting the information from your resume to your LinkedIn profile. So you'll be setting up an account, and I'm going to just give an example of an account here on the screen that you can see. So this right here is a student that's currently at University of West Georgia. He's a product strategy intern right now at Southwire, but he's very active on his LinkedIn page, which is really great. He's got 340 connections. You'll be setting up a page like this. It's very easy for you to set it up. It walks you through the steps. The first thing that you're going to need to include once you set up your account, and again, on the directions, follow the requirements and how you get in and set up your account, but you're going to need to create a summary. This summary is your story. This is the story that you want to share with potential employers, with colleagues, with peers. It's on the web so anyone can read it. You want to make sure that you highlight your strengths, accentuate the goals that you have for yourself professionally, and let that employer know that you are a hard worker, that you're the right person for the job. In this case, this student has an online perspective written about him from the University of West Georgia. He included that. You can also attach your resume right here to this summary, which is what a lot of people do, and it looks very professional. Make sure if you do that, though, that you put your resume in a PDF format. Okay, so the next area on LinkedIn is the experience section. And in this experience section, as mentioned before, you literally will be cutting and pasting so that you have bullet points. You want to make sure that you have bullet points. Some people make long paragraphs that are very difficult to read through. And if you're an employer, you'll want to see the bullet pointed things that the individual has done. And there's an area when you set up your experience that you can input the company name, so then if someone's not aware of the company you worked with, if the company is listed, they can go there and they can find out more about that company. You can see again, he's got different experiences at different companies, and what he's done, which eventually you should think about doing, is having people that you work for create recommendations for you. This way, there are actually people here on this site that recommend, that he's worked with, that recommend him, and these recommendations show up. They also show up in another section called recommendations, and you can do that in any area. So, as mentioned, this student has been very proactive. And just by the way, if you end up getting someone to write a recommendation for you, we will end up giving extra credit for that. So think about that. If you can find someone that can vouch for you. Though one other thing that's nice is if you click on this individual, you can actually view their profile to see exactly where they come from and what type of experience they have, which makes them their recommendation more credible. Okay, so moving down the line is the education section. And his education is the University of West Georgia. I think he's planning to graduate this year. And not only does he put down some of the things that he's done on campus, But he also included some different things like what societies or activities he's involved with, the projects that he's been involved in, organization, and recommendations from different professors or different people at this institution. And he also put some videos as well, some things that he had been involved in. And that's really helpful. With the project, you can even put the business communication project that you're doing in this class, which would really look nice. So for example, I have a student that in a previous class, and he put his project, he's graduated, but if you take a look at his experience or his education, you can see here 2 projects. You click on it, business communication project. And this individual actually worked on the financial aid department and gave some details on what the project was all about. So going back to Ethan, he also included another university that he was involved with. He was doing an international business degree at a university in France in an exchange program. So if you have any kind of exchange program where you took classes at a different institution, that would be worthwhile. The one thing that you don't want to do is you do not want to put any high school information on this LinkedIn profile or on your resume. Now that you're in college, high school is not something that's relevant anymore. So going back to Ethan, he mentioned the projects. The projects are listed here along with other members. He has some awards, so he indicated those awards. If you don't have any awards, you don't have to indicate it. This LinkedIn allows you to put in what you have and walks you through what you could have. And if you have it, then you add it. If you don't, then you don't bother. He was also involved with some organizations on campus, and those are listed as well, along with a description. Languages, if you happen to have proficiency in any type of language, even limited working proficiency like Ethan with French, you can include that. There's an area for your interests that you can talk about some of the things that you like to do so you can connect with others, advice for contacting, and certifications. So you can see here, if you have any certifications, put that down. Now, for this project, you're going to need in your skills section to pick out at least 10 skills. So you might have to type those skills in yourself if you don't see them, or you can select from the skills that they offer. But you'll need to have a minimum of 10 in order to not lose any points. So this next area is the recommendations, which, as mentioned, they're up above with the position, but they're also down below. These are all of his connections. So on LinkedIn, you can see who he has connected with, and you yourself could possibly connect with those as well so that you build up a professional network. And it will end up showing you how many shared, how many connections total, how many shared, and then how many new connections they have. Now, one major part of this project that you need to do is you're going to need to get involved. It's one thing putting your professional information on LinkedIn, but there's another thing of getting involved in groups. So you're going to be required to join 2 groups. Now, the 2 groups that are easiest to join would be something like the State University of West Georgia. You can also join Richards College of Business. Ethan has not only that, but he has the Management Club. He has Richards College of Business. He has some of the other areas that he is familiar with. And what happens in these groups is that they have members. And you actually have to join these groups. And when you join these groups, they'll accept you in. So sometimes it will show that you joined the group, but you haven't been accepted yet. So if that happens, you would just go up to interests, groups, and it will indicate what groups you're a member of by clicking into My Groups. And if for some reason they're not showing up in your on your page or your profile, you will be able to let your professor know by snipping this part and showing your professor by putting that in the Dropbox, or printing out a copy when you're handing it in if you're in a hybrid class. And then the last thing that area would be this area called following. You're going to need to follow at least 2 influencers or pulse conversations. So you end up going up to this area called Pulse, and then in here you'll be able to see some different things that are happening and follow different people. If you click here into Pulse, this will enable you to look at topics. So if marketing is your area or social media is your interest, or if you really like technology, there's also some more topics as well. You can discover those. And then if you hit discover more, it brings you to individuals that you can follow, or different companies that you can follow, or different topics. And if you follow, for example, Barack Obama, any type of blogs or information that he has will end up coming to you if you select it for your email, so that you can see how these professional people are influencing others through comments and blogs and other information that they share. So again, you're going to need to pick 2 influencers, a minimum of 2. You can have more than that if you'd like. The other area that you're going to need to include would be companies. And Ethan has a bunch of different companies. You have to have a minimum of 2. Scroll down. Okay, he's got 8 companies plus 83 more that he's interested in. This way, when they give you information or they post information, they keep you posted on the things that you do. And to go and find these companies, you just go into interest, companies, and you type in the companies you're interested in, or you can find other companies as well. So you can look and see what different companies are out there and pick some more if you wanted to, or you can actually develop or type in companies that you're interested in. And then last but not least would be the school following. And universities have LinkedIn pages as well. So you need to follow at least 1 school. If you are associated with other schools, you might want to do that. For example, you'll want to make sure you put University of West Georgia to follow, so any news with that. But there are other areas too that you can follow so that you can get information. So basically that is your LinkedIn profile. It's kind of a long description, but all the information is here in the sections. If you have any questions, just ask your professor, and we'll be happy to help you in any way. Once you do that, you're going to need to connect with your professor. And in order to connect, there is a button on LinkedIn at the top. When you put in someone's name, so for example, if we click on one of these individuals that I don't know who they are, but if this person is someone that I'd want to connect with, which in this case you're going to need to connect with your professor, you'll want to hit the connect button, and that will let you connect with them. So that's how easy it is, and you'll need to do that with your professor so that they can grade your LinkedIn profile. If you are in a hybrid class, you'll be printing out that profile, which will have separate instructions. And then below here are some extra credit opportunities. The cover letter, this is indicated in your Chapter 16, what a solicited cover letter is. Go through the directions. There are also in Coursden examples under course projects, resume project, so that you can look at examples of cover letters. The thank you letter is another letter that you're going to have that you could do for extra credit. It has to be set up like a letter using the same heading as your resume, and same with the cover letter. And there are examples and information for you there. And then the reference sheet. This is a sheet that has the same heading as your resume, and like in your Chapter 16, there'll be 3, no more than 5 references, and this is the information that you would want to include. The best bet is to look at the examples. So I know this is a long video, but I wanted to let you know what to expect in your resume project. Have a great day.